place whereby I'm giving this particular concert. And I was just explaining to you earlier that I haven't played for the past 3 days. And you know, the reality of being a percussionist is that we can't just put timpani up in the hotel room or you know, a multi-setup magically appears there. We can't just call out an instrument from a case and just when we feel like it. So to have access to the instruments is always quite difficult. So I was very appreciative earlier today of having this beautiful chapel to perform in. It was just absolutely a magnificent place. So that just allowed me to warm the muscles up. And it's important, again, to listen to the body. The art of listening is always starting with yourself, really. And so I needed to listen to how the muscles were to determine how long I would go on playing for. And so, you know, I wanted a program that could really focus on just minimal sounds. So the first piece uses 4 flower pots and narration. And so the idea of the flower pots being so fragile, and the fact that, well, we can all acquire flower pots for a few cents, perhaps a few dollars maybe, and you could kick one over and it breaks. You know, it's as simple as that. And the sound is so fragile from them as well. But yet there's a kind of organicness there, there's an earthiness to it. And so this kind of fragility, along with the fact that we can all play this particular piece of music, we can all tap at a flower pot, makes it very accessible as well. We then have, for example, a solo snare piece by an Icelandic composer, Austin Hausson. And then we have quite a lot of marimba pieces, ranging from composers from Serbia, Nebojša Zivkovic, to Germany, Matthias Schmidt, to a much more recent piece by the Dutch composer Jacob ter Veldhuis. And we also have a piece by Leonard Stevens as well. And then we have a wonderful piece for maracas and tape by Alvarez, a Mexican composer. And then I've taken a teeny version of clapping music by Steve Reich. And this is probably one of his most famous pieces of music. And you need 2 people to do this, but obviously there's just one of me. And it's basically, the original is 2 people clapping exactly the same rhythm, and then one steps out a 16th of the quaver, whatever that is, here. And you know, we get this kaleidoscope effect. So I had asked Steve Reich years ago to write a solo percussion piece, and he's quite an expensive composer, so you know, this did not happen. But nevertheless, I thought, how can I take some of his music and perform it by myself? So I basically decided to take his clapping music, which is a teeny short piece, and pop it on 2 wood blocks, but you can play it on the floor, you can play it on a table, anything you want, and play both parts, basically. And the cool thing about this piece is that, from a percussionist point of view, and I'm talking shop here, is that basically you can play it any way you want. I would play it with 2 hands and a foot, but you can play it with just your 2 feet, or a hand and a foot, or whatever. So if you find that you're right-handed, if there are any percussionists here, then you know, try to play this piece whereby perhaps your left foot and your right hand is playing it, or vice versa. You know, your left hand and your right foot. This type of thing, so that you get all the limbs and the body balanced, really. Because as a percussion player, you need to sometimes be like an octopus, and everything needs to be balanced. And the idea is that you're not to determine whether a percussion player is right-handed or left-handed. You should always leave the audience guessing as to which hand is the strongest. So that's good.
Thank you. That's good. Well, I'm going to open it up now. I'm sure you must have questions up there in the down room or anywhere. Would anyone like? The floor is open.
Would you tell us about trials and tribulations?
Would you tell us about trials and tribulations of being a percussionist?
I think I was referring to, did you provide some music for that in the UK?
Trial and retribution.
Yes.
Sorry.
I see what you mean. So we could have gone off in a, well, that was
We can address that second question later.
Oh, fascinating project, actually, this is a kind of a police drama series of programs by Linda LaPlante, and so some pretty gruesome scenes in there. And I was asked if I could write the music for this. I think I've written about 5 of the series. And so this was really interesting because I was able to use a lot of the more unusual sounds from the collection of instruments. And so what I did was that I asked Linda LaPlante to come to my little studio and actually experience these instruments firsthand. And the slight difference in my kind of writing music for the media is that I will actually play the instruments myself as opposed to trying to get a marimba sound out of a synthesizer or something. So really the expression obviously has that rawness to it. And it was, obviously there were different directors for each program, and that's always a challenge. And for them to try to express what they want from the music can also be a challenge. So it may be that they're expressing something one day, and the next day the description is completely different. So you're often having to redo this thing. So, you know, patience is very much to do in your forehead when you're involved in this type of creating. But it was absolutely fascinating to see how this whole process and arm of music really works, you know, and trying to link this with a picture, you know, creating something, whether the music is leading the picture or the picture leading the music, or whether you're suggesting a particular mood. It's all important things. So that 3-second worth of sound, you know, is absolutely crucial. So you're not looking at a big, you know, a big scale piece of music here, but you're looking at these moments of sound that are really important. And usually the trick is to keep it simple and not have too many subtle things going on there. It's just to keep it simple, but keep it meaningful.
Did you watch the film and react to it, or did you actually preconceive some ideas and write them down?
I saw the film in its rough stages, so not in its completed form by any means, but in its rough stages, and you work through the images in the film with the director, and so they will determine where they perhaps want the music to be, and you can obviously make suggestions as well. And you know, when that partnership works, you know, it's about teamwork. It's like when you perform with an orchestra in a concerto, you know, you may not have met the orchestra before or played the piece before, but, you know, within 2 hours you have to get this piece together, and then at 7:30 or 8 p.m. you have to perform that piece. And it's the same kind of situation. You've got to make this team work. You've got to have that chemistry and listening skills as well to allow things to flow pretty well.
This was something that you had mentioned in one of your previous answers about kind of how today a lot more people have the ability to create sound or create music at their fingertips, like on a music production program, like on a computer. Do you think this is something that's either positive or negative about like everybody is able to compose now?
You know, I actually do think it's a positive thing. But my concern is that, I mean, it's great when you're able to explore sound, to explore and really, you know, try to bring yourself through the tool that you have. In a way, the computer or the synthesizer or whatever it is your tool. That's your musical instrument, really. So I think it's a good thing. I think the challenge is that for composers who want those pieces then performed in a live situation, we have a problem. So, for example, with a lot of the composition competitions that are out there, you find that people are composing more and more on the computer because they don't have access to real musicians, you know, to people who can actually play